We've all heard it before. The Wii U was a financial, commercial, and legendary failure. It sold less than 14 million units, and a lot of the games were mediocre and the marketing was terrible. But what if I told you that there's more to the Wii U than a lot of people think? Today, let's take a look back at the little system that could, but just didn't. Without further ado, let's get started.
Use Kimmy regime.
Oh, I'm coming to eat you!
Hey there, I'm Kardino. Do you ever feel like your life could be something more than it currently is? Well, imagine how the Wii U felt then. A lot of people like to give this console crap, but in reality, I wonder if people might have looked at it differently if things had just been a little bit different. Okay, quite a bit different. I mean, in theory, the Wii U was pretty genius. Let's pretend we're designing the concept at Nintendo HQ. Like, get this, there's always been a market for handheld gaming, right? But until now, there hasn't been any successful home consoles that could do it. All we got were handhelds which were often lacking in technical power. Okay, so maybe that's a market that could be tapped into if only we had that technology. Meanwhile, the DS was an immense success, bringing the game changer, pun definitely intended, of adding a second screen and a touch screen at that. This let UI, maps, and other secondary things be put within easy access without cluttering up the main action. Not only that, but that touchscreen led the way to even more popular gaming methods like phones. But obviously, we can't put a second screen on a home console, much less a touchscreen. But what if we combine it with that handheld idea from earlier? We can make a tablet that connects to a home console. This touchscreen, let's just call it the Gamepad, could allow for off-screen play by connecting to a main console, while at other times offering the benefits of the DS's bottom screen for UI management, maps, and note-taking. Wait, but there's just one problem. This Gamepad is gonna bump the cost of the console up quite a bit. How are we supposed to get multiplayer games working? Well, what if we only include one with the console? For everyone else, what if we use the old Wiimotes? They're bound to already have a few lying around, it's easy to market, and if they want a better option, we'll offer a Pro controller too. But wait, because we're reusing technology, we can optimize it and allow for 4 remotes to be connected with one gamepad, for a total of 5 player slots. Of course, a person with the gamepad will have tools other people won't, so let's make some games based around that. And for people who really want to get competitive, we'll let them purchase a second gamepad and make games specifically for 2-person competitive play. But wait, it's not even over. Since we're using this old technology in combination with the new stuff, why don't we just throw in an entire virtual Wii? That way from day one, people can play their entire library of old games, the lineup of virtual console games, and our new games all at once. On paper, this new console sounds like a genius idea, minus the name. If all went as it should have, this console might not have been as popular as the original Wii, but still could have been a more than viable platform. It even had the slogan, "How you will play next." Unfortunately, when translating this idea into reality, Nintendo sorta dropped the ball, and here's where the whole failure thing comes into play. You see, all the things I just discussed were actually real, even the dual gamepad support.
And I'm happy to announce, just like the original Nintendo Entertainment System, the Wii U hardware will support 2 separate gamepads. This week, we're focusing on single gamepad challenges, but look for dual gamepad experiences in the future.
But the problem was that they never really used the mechanic. Part of what made the DS so successful was that developers used the touchscreen in unique and interesting ways. Or even in something like Mario Kart, it let you have an overhead view of the map. The problem was that nobody really used this thing. More often than not, they simply made the gamepad mimic the main screen. Can you imagine if DS games just showed a double image on both screens? Even Nintendo barely used it. I could count on my hands the number of games that properly use this thing. The rest made the gamepad feel just tacked on and kinda useless. Mario 3D World, the new evolutionary platformer, doubled the display and had like one level that used a tossing gimmick. Mario Kart 8, the new racing experience that brought the series to new heights, didn't even support 5 players. If you were playing multiplayer and had the gamepad, you got split screen too. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the open-world masterpiece that reimagined the series, complete with an in-game mobile device for your adventuring convenience. Surely they used this perfect opportunity to use the gamepad, right? Nope. In fact, this game might have the most pitiful use of all. Per usual, you can play off the TV, but it'll only broadcast to one screen at a time. So while you're using one, the other just tells you how to switch displays. What's torturous about this is that the game actually had this feature, but when it was delayed so they could port it to the Switch, they killed it so the two versions would be identical. Yeah, no use using this amazing feature which was already in the game. We don't want anyone to feel any resentment, now do we? You know what's a shame too? There were some neat games that actually used the gamepad in interesting ways. Nintendo Land comes to mind with its amazing use of the gamepad for stuff like Luigi's Mansion, Zelda Quest, Metroid, and Mario Chase. Seriously, this game is massively underrated, and it was an experience that only worked on the Wii U. Wind Waker HD used the gamepad to let you see your map while sailing and manage your inventory on the fly. I talked about Mario Maker in my other video, but it took advantage of the touchscreen to make drawing levels intuitive and easy, whereas the sequel used button inputs and feels a lot slower. Splatoon was another one. It let you have a constant map to track ink coverage, let you see teammate locations, and let you jump to them without bringing up a menu. There were even more games that used the second screen that I haven't gotten the chance to play yet, like Game & Wario, Pikmin 3, and well, we don't talk about those. Okay, so maybe the gamepad gimmick was underutilized, but at least the games were still good, right? Well, it's sort of a mixed bag. All but a couple of the games I mentioned were actually a blast, and there were even more like DKC Tropical Freeze and Smash Bros. In fact, most of the ports that a lot of people are enjoying on the Switch were just repackaged versions from the Wii U. But of course, there were more than a few duds here too. Mario Party 10 was a perfect example of a game that will only be remembered for its number, and Star Fox Zero... Okay, I never actually picked this one up, but seeing that you can get a factory sealed deluxe edition for 16 bucks doesn't exactly persuade me that it's an underrated gem or anything. In the end, I'd say about 60 to 70% of the Wii U's first-party games were good, from what I know at least. Oh, and speaking of games, this was the first Nintendo console that let you buy full games online. And the eShop even had a rating system, which somehow the Switch doesn't have. I'd say the only problem with this system is downloading games could take a while, especially during periods of high demand. I remember downloading Breath of the Wild on release day, and it took almost 8 hours if memory serves. Oh, and I did mention you only had 32 gigs of onboard storage, right? Yeah, if you wanted to download more than like 2 games, you needed a USB storage device, and one that had its own power source at that. But don't worry, it gets even better. This drive was given a unique key that matched your Wii U console. This obviously was to prevent piracy, but if you needed to reformat your system, the key would reset and you'd need to re-download all your games. And keep in mind, this was on the deluxe model. If you had a regular white one, you'd only have 8 gigs of storage. That's not even enough for Zelda. Okay, so let's switch back to something positive. This of course is just down to preference, but I think the Wii U has one of my favorite UIs. I like the Switch, don't get me wrong, but it feels really bare bones. I like my game consoles to feel fun, or at least have personality. The Switch UI has as much personality as it has themes. No music, no built-in socials, it's just a neat tablet that lets you jump straight into your game. And like I said, I can respect that. It fits the handheld nature pretty well. But there was just something about the Wii U operating system that was so fun. Each menu had its own music, the Mii's greeted you every time you started up the console. You had Miiverse, which has sadly now ended, and wait for it. Oh, and it had Virtual Console. Want to know something else awesome? Every few months, the Wii U eShop would get its own music. This could be an original composition or something from a new game, but it was always fun to get something new. Really, this whole experience was awesome, even if it took a few updates to fix the long loading screens. But like I mentioned earlier, the Wii U also had a virtual Wii, so you could play some old favorites. And with a little tweaking, you could even play GameCube games. In fact, that's a lot of the reason I keep my Wii U plugged in nowadays. In one box, you can play NES, SNES, N64, GameCube, GBA, DS, Wii, and Wii U games. Basically excluding the original Game Boy, Game & Watch, and Virtual Boy, you had representation from every Nintendo system ever made. Really, the only issue is the amount of controllers you'll need. Like, to boot up my copy of Monkey Ball 2, I need to start the console with the Gamepad, then switch to the Wiimote to enter Wii mode, then break out my GameCube controller to actually play the game. But I can't exactly blame Nintendo for that last one since it wasn't officially supported. In the end, the Wii U was a system that had amazing potential, but just didn't live up to the hype. Nintendo released the console too early, and by the time the games actually came out for it, its reputation was ruined and its life had to be cut short. And believe me, I am more than willing to call this thing a failure, the numbers don't lie, but to me, if they had made the price lower, beefed up the specs a bit more, and actually focused it at gamers instead of families, I think we would have at least had a second GameCube on our hands. People joke about throwing their Wii U in the garbage, but I think the fact that so many Wii U games are flourishing on the Switch just speaks to how good of an experience this thing could be. It makes me wonder if people would have viewed the GameCube differently if the internet had been more widespread. Would you see people shafting it just because the Wii could play its games and it was way better commercially? Because let's be real, the Switch is neat, but I'm not paying $60 for a game that I could get at a fraction of the price on the previous console. And furthermore, the Wii U marked a shift for Nintendo. No longer were they the company that made cheap cash grabs, but once again the creators of great masterpieces. Again, I'm not saying the system was perfect, or even close to it, but I kinda have the same opinion of it as the GameCube. A potentially good console with good experiences, but thanks to some key mistakes, never got the chance to shine. I wonder if people will look back on it the same way. But anyway, now it's your turn. Am I sugarcoating things, or did you end up agreeing with me? Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.